Are you
Hey, what's
talking?
up? Yeah, I can hear
Oh,
you.
there we go. There we go. How's it going?
Oh, I don't only send. I'm pretty good. How are you going?
I'm good. I'm trying to I just literally started streaming today on Twitch again in a while. So right now I'm on my like TikTok live, but I just opened up my Twitch for like the first time in like 2 years.
Oh, well, damn. Well, how's that going?
Twitch was difficult for me. Honestly, I struggled with Twitch, and that's because there's two things. Like I don't have um a crazy personality nor the consistency that I did for like years to build it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not like the best gamer. Like on League, I'm barely gold. On Fortnite, I'm okay. And so it's I struggle to kind of keep that audience because if I played games, that's cool, but it's hard to kind of focus on intellectual conversations while I game. And then if I don't game and I'm only focusing on intellectual conversations, then I lose a lot of my audience.
Sure.
So it's kind of difficult. So TikTok is just where it was at for me, and I'm live right now with like a few hundred people. I just started, so that's kind of like seems to be like the short term videos that I do best on.
Huh. Okay. Well, that's cool. What do you normally do like on TikTok? What's like your normal content?
Honestly, I do science. So like I actually just had a video I just posted 2 days ago hit 10 million in 2 days, and I just do like little science tricks, like just fun little stuff. Science news updates, different things like that.
Who's the and what is your name on TikTok again? Just so my audience can find you. I don't know how much crossover there is, but
Dominic Andre _. I can type it in your chat so they can see it. But yeah, so it's just yeah, there you go.
okay, gotcha. I see it. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, so I do a bunch of different stuff. So like the one, if you scroll down a little bit, there's that one that I did. It's 1.6 million. It's a little bit, yeah, it should be a little bit above that. Yeah, that one did. Yeah, that's 1.6 million likes. So yeah, that one did like, I think 9-10 million views.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I do different stuff like that, little stupid like kind of science tricks that people can do at home. Because I'm kind of fascinated with all that type of stuff. A lot of astronomy, so I'm trying to get more into that with my audience. But yeah, it's been a kind of a wild ride because I literally started just 4 months ago, and I'm already at 1.2 million in 4 months.
Damn. Do you have like a background formally like in any of this kind of stuff, or?
So I've been involved with like I have a lot of cousins that are in social media, like a lot. Like one of my cousins owns a company called Food Beast, so they do like food news updates, stuff like that. So I've been around that. I've always wanted to, so I've always tried posting over the years on YouTube, Instagram, and then I started doing photography like 8 years ago. So about 6 years ago, I started working with influencers a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So big influencers up to a few million. I've worked with actually, oh my God, it's Firefox. I think that's her name or whatever. I think that girl. So I've worked with like a bunch of different streamers, YouTubers, different like that. So my Instagram was okay. It was like 10,000, something like that. And then I ran a league page with like 100K called League of Updates. So I did that one on Instagram for a while, and it was really, really well known in the league world. So I've been in the background for a while, and like I was actually starting with David Dobrik's like group, some of his friends. We were starting of like a YouTube channel together. Mm-hmm. So I was like, hey man, like I'm gonna open up a TikTok because like I feel bad that like you have so many more followers than me, and I'm not contributing. Like maybe I can grow. And I just posted like a few videos, and they all just started taking off. So I was like, you know what, like I think this might work on my own. Like I'm just gonna keep posting and doing this, and literally within the like 4 months, 5 months, I was actually at 950,000 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is taking me so long to hit 1.2 mil. And then I posted that video, hit 10 million, and I gained 200,000 followers in 1 night.
Damn, nice.
So yeah, so TikTok's like now my focus. And then YouTube, I think I'm about to hit 80,000 on YouTube as well.
Mm-hmm. What do you have like a background in any of the science stuff, or is that just like kind of a hobby thing, or?
Yeah, it's been a hobby. I literally have like in my room, I literally have microscopes. I have telescopes behind me. Astronomy is something I've been in love with. I was published by NASA when I was like 18 years old with like photos of space and stuff like that. So I've just been really interested in it. I just felt that I wasn't going to contribute to the scientific community as much as I would if I just financially donated. So I just told myself like, hey man, you'll start a business, you'll donate, that'll be your contribution to science. Cause I don't think that my mathematical brain would contribute as much. So I just made it a huge hobby of mine. But I actually worked on political science masters and clinical psychology masters.
Poli-sci masters and clinical psychology masters. Is that you're doing that now, or you were working on that and now you're kind of taking a break?
I worked on, so
Hey
I did a
guys,
bachelor's
I just
philosophy,
bought some
religion,
dried ice and
and then I was like, okay, I want to study political science. I did that. Then I transferred to start doing my master's in political science, worked on that for a year. And then now I'm at Pepperdine in California, Malibu, doing clinical psychology, but I'm entering like my last semester basically. And what our last few semesters are just clinical work. So I'm basically like, I'm a therapist at the moment. So I have my clients and everything, and then the school just kind of checks up on me every once in a while, and that's about it. So I'm pretty much done with school. It's just mostly checkups.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, how did you find my stuff?
So I was actually the Liam O'Hara. He was my professor for my undergrad.
Running for Congress now, right?
Yeah. So and also real quick, so for those of you guys on TikTok, if you guys want to hear what we're streaming about, I'm on Twitch right now. You can either check out Destiny on Twitch if you want to hear what we're talking about, or you can go to Dominic Andre on Twitch as well to see what we're talking about. But yeah, so Liam O'Hara was my professor actually, because I'm half Palestinian, half Lebanese, so I did a lot of his Middle Eastern classes. And then I did like an independent study under him where I analyzed the difference between extremist groups, religious and non-religious, to determine if there's a kind of a consistency with religion being the culprit or not. So I did that, and then me and him were talking about like grad school, and he actually was the first one who was telling me, like, I was like, oh, how do you go to grad school? And he's like, oh, well, you take this thing called the GRE, and it's basically like a general test to see where your mind's at to kind of place you in classes. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I literally that day signed up, and the next day took the GRE class or the test, and then transferred into my master's the following week. So I immediately went into my master's, started working into it, because I'm kind of I didn't have to work for a long time because I live with my parents. So I was just like, cool, I'm just gonna like learn as much as I can in life, just because if I don't have to worry about money and I'm gonna work the rest of my life, I might as well like educate myself.
Sure. Okay, cool.
So
did you have so I know we bounced back and forth between a few possible things on Instagram. Did you have anything like specifically you think you like really wanted to talk about, or?
Yeah, honestly, so I've been like thinking, and it's interesting. I'm actually just about to start a podcast with influencers to kind of get everyday people's takes on them, but the people that they kind of look up to. But I've been really thinking about free will, and not just free will, but kind of how it relates to political support. So I'm in all these TikTok debate groups, and I just, debate all these people all day. And it seems like this trend where, most of the time, so I don't want to generalize, but most of the time, a lot of Republicans seem to lean in the sense that like everyone has all this ultimate free will, and it seems to kind of deem from their religiousness, because obviously if they didn't have free will, it would cause some more issues with the religion. So I always kind of debate with them like, hey, no, like, look, I'm a therapist, like I work with these clients, and like hearing their stories really opens your eyes to like what free will is. And like that's excluding the fact that like from my philosophy background, determinism and so on, there's so many things to argue from that point. But working with these clients, it's really challenged me to see the physical version of free will, and like I'm not just sitting there debating in my philosophical classrooms about how much free will we have, but really actually going, holy crap, like sitting with all these clients, you see that there's nothing that they can do sometimes, and most of the time actually, and almost every single thing that they are and they do comes from their history. And so it's been really kind of getting to me really thinking about that lately, because I feel like that's the ultimate barrier between my political views and maybe everyone else's, is that everyone else who may oppose my views has this optimistic view of society where everyone just has the ability to do them and freedom and different things like that. And it kind of really started to make me think that all this debating that I'm doing, sometimes I used to debate only philosophy because I was like, hey, if I can't change your philosophy, I can't change your politics. Then I started getting into politics, thinking, this is more active. A lot more people would rather talk about politics than religion. They hated when I talked about religion. Yeah. But now I'm getting to that point again where I'm like, no, like I can't change 90% of their minds if they ultimately believe, everyone has just free will to do whatever they want, and everyone is making these free choices with no influence at all or little influence. So that's something I wanted to talk about and kind of get a back and forth to kind of show you some actual, realistic versions of this topic, like with, I can talk about some of my clients, obviously omitting their names and identifying information, but kind of just seeing like, wow, like that, how would you change your life like that in that situation and different things like that.
Do you have do you know anything about my views on any of this?
So no, literally I've seen your name a lot, but I've never watched your stream and I was like, this will be perfect. I don't even want to know. Like I want to just discuss. So I have no preconceived notions of where you're at. Now I assume you lean left because I think when I watched my professor, I watched like a little bit of the video with you. Yeah. He was just kind of showing me, but that's about it. That's all I know. So I'd love like an introduction or in general diving in and we can figure it out.
Yeah, gotcha. It might be a really short convo. I actually 100% I'm probably going to agree with everything you say. I think I've actually said in the past that it seems like the number one differentiator between somebody that's left-leaning versus somebody that's right-leaning is where they stand on determinism versus free will. Where the more right-leaning you are, the more you have this like very naive notion that people are the ultimate arbiters of their own destiny, that people can make these choices free of environmental influences. And then generally, the more on the left you are, the more you kind of understand, well, people are products of their environment, and we should probably seek to create better environments for people to make better people, rather than just telling people to just make better choices, which seems kind of fantastical. But yeah, that's definitely a view that I've had for a while. So it's interesting to hear that you are kind of like at the same spot, I think, or it sounds like it.
Yeah, no, that's like, honestly, I always tell people this. I always say the difference between Democrats and Republicans generally, of course, is that one of them is super pessimistic, and that's the Democrats about life. And that's why we have so many regulations and rules, is because they just don't trust humans. And then the Republicans are this, everyone will do the right thing. Less regulation means, the public will just steer ourselves into the best position possible over time.
Sure.
And so I always find that kind of interesting, because even with all these regulations, we have all this corruption, and yet it's so interesting that they're so optimistic about, no, we're going to do the right thing. And I'm like, you're barely doing the right thing now, and we have regulations everywhere. So like, what would make it any different if we took those away from you?
Sure. I don't know if I would necessarily use the term pessimistic. I guess some people would, like, I guess if you say you have no free will, a lot of people say that as pessimistic. But I mean, I think that viewing things in a more deterministic light definitely gives you a more accurate view of the world, rather than if you believe in. I think if you truly believe in free will, I think you have some very bad opinions about a lot of people, right? If you truly believe in this, like, I think the word I usually hear it referred to as not necessarily, this isn't necessarily political, but called libertarian free will. That if you have this view of people, then man, every poor person must just be so fucking stupid and such a dumb human, or everybody that's involved in crime or whatever, like just make better choices, bros. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you know what? I actually had I was waiting for my client today. Little kid, and we had a crisis call or a crisis intervention today, where a gentleman came in out of prison, bawling, crying about some situations that were happening. And it was just really interesting to kind of hear like his past, and just like hearing about all these different things. And it made me, like, you're right that like so many people tell me like, oh, well, they deserve that, or they deserve it's their choice that they could get out of it. And I find it so harmful, because it's just so unrealistic, and it's just so funny. I was going to make a TikTok actually, where I kind of made a joke where I'm sitting there eating McDonald's, talking about how there's no such thing as like influence, and there's no such thing as determinism. And I'm like, I'm sitting here eating a McDonald's breakfast that tastes like shit, that's not good for me, but I'm falling into marketing. And I think it's so funny when people will tell me, oh, African Americans are not disadvantaged at all. Who cares if books always mention white people and movies always mention white people over black people? Who cares? Like, that doesn't mean anything. But I'm like, but you also admit that a commercial would make you buy some shitty ass McDonald's food.
Yeah.
But
yeah. People say influence means nothing, but like advertisers get paid multi-billion-dollar. Like, there's a reason why these industries exist. Like, they're not just all bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I find that so ironic. I was just going to be like eating a McDonald's burger. I'm like, yeah, guys, I totally agree with you. Marketing doesn't work. Like it's just so interesting that they tell me like, hey, man, give me a few $100,000 and I can convince this guy to buy your shitty food. But I tell them like, hey, man, what if every minute of every day, all these books, all these movies portray a specific type of, story with a specific type of antagonist and villain, and Will that cause any problems? Like, oh no, that won't do anything.
I remember reading a stat a long time ago. I don't think I looked for this in other articles, but it was something like if you hit obese on the BMI scale, you have a less than 3% chance of ever returning to a normal, what would be considered a normal BMI. And then I look at like the fact that there are children today that are under the age of 10 that are already obese. And it's like, man, some of these people are fucked right out the gate. And the idea that you could look at the differences in these people and think that everybody is on an even playing field, like before you've even had the ability to make decisions about your life, your parents could already ruin things for you or make you massively successful, you know? Yeah, it's crazy to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's the difficulty that, like, you know, I have kids that are in therapy with me right now, and you know, they already have all these problems going on. And I'm like, what did they do? What free will did they have? And that's what bothers me so much, is that I'm like, I don't get it, because if you break down individual scenarios, it's really hard for people to dispute it. But as a whole, it's just easier for them to blame people. And it's always funny because it's always the people that happen to be on top that tell you can get out.
Well, have you gotten far enough into your thinking to figure out why that is?
Oh yeah, it's because it's obviously at this point, once you're out of it, you think that it was your hard work and hard doing.
Yep.
And they want to give themselves all of that credit.
Yeah, that's exactly the right answer. So the problem is that if we acknowledge that the environment is a major contributing factor to where we are at life, well, if I have to acknowledge that for a poor person whose life is fucked up, does that mean I have to acknowledge it for myself, who's very successful? And that gets really uncomfortable. You know, you want to take credit for the things you've done, and you don't want to feel like you owe that credit to someone else. Everybody wants to feel like they're their own island or whatever. So yeah, especially people that are in very successful positions, they want to feel like, you know, well, no, everybody chooses their own path. Like, that's why I'm successful. It's not because of anybody else, you know? And oftentimes the help you get, you don't really see, you know, like nobody, you know, depending on where you're born in, you know, nobody sees having two parents and a mom that can stay at home and help you with homework as a real advantage. Like, that's just like a normal thing. You know, people don't even count those things as like being massively advantageous. Getting away from the fact that like being able to eat every day, you know, if you go Western world versus non-Western world, like all these other types of advantages that nobody even looks at, you know, being able to eat every day, having, you know, clothes that fit you every day, having a place to sleep. Like, yeah, people don't take into account any of these things at all because they feel like they lose credit for the accomplishments they have.
Yeah, no, and that's true, 100%. So people, and that's what bothers me, because people always tell me all the time, and it's my favorite. You know, they'll say like, oh, well, I mean, look at, let's just say Obama. Obama became president, most powerful position in the world, and he was black.
Yep.
And,
racism
and
solved.
and he was, and I always look at them, and I just look at them, I go, okay, Stevie Wonder is blind and he's a millionaire. Are you now saying there's no disadvantage to be blind? And they just like pause, and I'm like, well, it was his hard work. I'm like, no, his mom actually forced him on a piano at 3 years old. Would he have been a millionaire if he didn't? Probably not. No. And so I just find it so interesting that they don't understand. They don't see the case by case. And so every time I've been debating in this Republican group chat, like 90% of them are Republican. I mean, actually, is ironic. One of them, as I was saying this, said go back to the Middle East, which is, you know, ironic. But I was like, hey, you know, you guys don't notice like all the little helps you get. You're all kind of saying it from your viewpoint that it wasn't hard. Like one of the kids I'm debating, he's a super big Trump supporter on TikTok, was saying, well, bro, you don't get it. Like my mom grew up poor.
Everyone's got their stories.
Yeah, she's like, oh, she's got 6 people in a 1,600 square foot house. I'm like, first off, that's huge. I'm like, secondly, that's what you think is difficult. And then you also don't take into account she may have had a mentor that helped her. She may have had, and then they tell me,
more importantly, like there are exceptional cases. Like some people do exceptional cases, but there's a reason why we call these people exceptional. You know, not everybody can come out of these conditions and be like really amazing. You know, like look at all the people born middle class that stay middle class their whole lives. They consider themselves to be doing way better than somebody that was born lower class and stays lower class their whole lives. But why? You didn't do anything. You just showed up every day to your life, and you more or less like dealt with everything and came out okay. But it's not because you were an exceptional person. You were born middle class and you stayed middle class. But like the idea that like if every single poor person should be able to overcome their circumstances and become a middle class person, then every single middle class person should be able to overcome their circumstances and become a millionaire. But that doesn't happen either, you know?
Yeah, no, and then that's so the thing is even with those cases that were poor that went to millions, I always tell them, you know, you could give me the sobbiest story you want and how you became a millionaire, but if I analyze your history, I'm gonna find something there that helped you, whether it was a mentor, whether it was positioning, whether it was location based, whether it was opportunity based. There were things. You can't just say I became a millionaire from nothing. Like nobody helped me, no one told me. It's like, no, even if someone handed you a book and then you read that book and it gave you the knowledge, that is still not your free will, because you didn't get, if you didn't have that book, if you didn't have that influence, if you didn't and then you think like, well, no, I got my book. It's like, no, someone could have handed it to you. The way that you got that book in your grasps for whatever reason came from some sort of, destination. And not to say that like I believe in some sort of higher power doing this, but like if it wouldn't have been put in your hands, that so many people will tell you that like all those and I hate it so much, all these stupid success stories similar to kind of Gary Vee telling you how he did it. And I'm like, yes, it's good that he goes around telling people, because maybe that's what they need is like in their future. And I understand that. But then I see these people like talk about how like, oh, take it into your own control. Like, look at me. And I'm like, no, you even talk about that one thing that caused it to happen, whether it's like, I read this one book or I saw this one mentor. And I'm like, you're literally explaining to us how you didn't do it. You had something contribute and influence your entire decision-making process.
Maybe people can't fucking read, or they don't have the online resources to get to some area, or they can't read well enough to read the same thing you did, or they wouldn't have had that put in front of them. Yeah, for sure. It's a very, very, very frustrating concept to have, because it seems like a pretty trivial concept. Like, it seems like you should understand this very quickly, but the thing is that this isn't really something most people think about. Like, nobody thinks about their position on free will and arrives at it, but rather the free will opinion they have is just kind of the natural result of very internal beliefs they have about the world, So like internally, like, I know that I am where I am because of my own hard work. So like, well, what do you think about free will? Well, obviously free will exists, right? So you can't really argue free will about them. You have to like redo some very fundamental wiring inside of them to actually move them off that position, which is very, very, very hard to do. And so oftentimes talking about free will is you're already talking past the point, because there's something so much deeper inside of them that's driving them to have that position.
Yeah, no, and it's difficult for them to understand, and I think I struggle to kind of explain it, and then they're like, well, you're a therapist, you should know that you can change and you can, and I'm like, yes, but I'm the influence. I am that thing that other people may not have in their life that could do it. You could get placed with a shitty therapist that rapes you, or just a shitty therapist that does nothing for you.
Sure.
And so they don't understand, because they don't understand that the influence at each individual point in time that you have, whether it's talking to someone, seeing a book, reading a cover, every little action that you have, that event leads to different events in the future. And so it's struggling. I struggle to explain that to them, because they will not acknowledge. And like you said, and like we talked about, they want the hard work for themselves. They want to know that I did it. And you cannot take that away from me, because then you're basically saying that I'm not a genius like I am. And it's just that selfishness of being like, no, like for me, I'm like, bro, my parents, we were wealthy, my whole life we were wealthy. And then the only reason that I actually failed out of like high school. I got a 1.2 out of high school. And the only reason that I started to kind of turn around is during 2008, when the economy crashed, 2009, 10, we couldn't even afford to eat. So then I was like, oh wow, this is what it feels like to be poor. And like, I grew up to the point where like anything I wanted, I got, but then I lost everything. And then I was like, that if I didn't have that, I would have been a completely different person.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually so interesting. My trajectory is very similar. My parents had I would say we were like upper middle class. Growing up until I was about 13, 14, my mom had a daycare and she made a lot of money off of that. And then my parents just quit. And we went from, having like an indoor swimming pool to using the swimming pool to fill our toilets up because our utilities kept shutting off. And it was, seeing the difference between those two lives was very, very interesting. But even, regardless of how much it sucked being poor, like I have a ton of unearned advantages that I had from when we were wealthy, right? I went to a really good private school. I learned how to read really well, like stuff like that, definitely helped me on my, to get to where I'm at in life right now.
Yeah. And that's like, I contribute that, or like I attribute that to everything that I am, is that like that up and down path that I went through is why I am who I am. And I probably would have been so shitty before. And it's just difficult because, again, it's just all about the selfishness of saying, I did it, it's me. And so I struggle like debating with these people. I think I debate about 7 hours a day, like nonstop.
Jesus.
And like one of the guys, big Trump supporter, now he's posting he's a Bernie supporter. So I'm like, okay, great. Like at least I've made some headway. Not to say that Bernie's the end all be all in the factual correctness of the world, but he's making a change, which is showing that he's open-minded, and maybe that's something good. But yeah, so it's difficult. There's something I've just been grappling with as I like work with all these clients in front of me and seeing all their horrible situations. And I'm like, okay.
Just curious, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay, gotcha. I'm 31.
Well, and I'm 27 in 8 days.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, so like I've just been around it for a long time. I specifically work with refugees. So although
What type? From where?
mostly from the Middle East and Desi, which is like Pakistani, Indian, different things like that.
Okay.
But it's not really exclusive. It's just a nonprofit that I work at specifically targets mostly Muslim and mostly Arab people, refugees, but it's open to anyone. So like today, an African American gentleman came in, and that was the one who had the issues of like he was having a breakdown, and he had a crisis that we had to come in and like work with him on. So yeah, so
for these
like
types of people, what I'm so curious actually. What is like the biggest problem that a lot of these people do you work in the United States? Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm in Southern California. I work 10 minutes from Disneyland.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I live down in Culver City, so I'm like an hour drive away from like Anaheim, that area, whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're close. Yeah. So I work there. And the number one issue, I mean, honestly, there isn't really a number one issue, or like a few, but to be honest, generally what you do see is a lot of male domination, and that comes from the religious aspect and the cultural aspect. I myself, I'm atheist. So for me, like like I said, I did religion in my undergrad. So like I understand. I'm like, hey, look, I study this. Islam is no different than Christianity when it comes to these things. But culturally, Arabs do dominate because we're obviously a little bit more older. So they do dominate the women a lot. So there's a lot of that. A lot of kind of abuse. That's really common, I notice. So a lot of abuse that's happening in the family. And I think, I mean, yeah, mostly it's just like a lot of abuse and stuff like that. But I have a variety of clients. I have some that are, hey, you know, I came here to America, married a white guy, and he's abusive. I have some that say, hey, I've, you know, a parents, like some of them, like I have parents and I'm lesbian and they don't know. And they teach at the mosque. I have some that are, hey, I'm having trouble. I'm old. There's like a gentleman, he's older. He's just like, hey, I just need friends, and I struggle to make friends. And so it's a variety of different clients, but it mostly leans towards like Middle Eastern Muslims.
Gotcha.
And then someone asked, yes, I am Lebanese. I'm half Lebanese, half Palestinian. My grandmother actually started like a nonprofit for refugees 65 years ago, worked with like people. I have like pictures of her with like world leaders like Saddam Hussein, Clinton, all these people at the time. And so people were asking in the chat. But yeah, so we do a lot of Middle Eastern work. And that's like the focus, which is why I focused my first master's on Middle Eastern conflict and Israel, Palestine, and so on.
Damn. What is your I guess like what is your trajectory right now? You're working on TikTok, you do counseling for people. Where do you want to be like in 2 or 3 years? Like what's your goal, I guess?
Honestly, my goal is to make as much money as possible to give it all away. Every dollar that I make from TikTok, I give it away. And with therapy, like it's just a good steady job. And so my goal is to create a steady income from that to then just give money away constantly. That's just what I want to do. So like with like my YouTube and different things like that, I just give all the money away to like people in need. My goal is to like give laptops out. So what I want to do is I'm really passionate about education disparities. And so I want to use TikTok, hopefully, my YouTube and all these brand deals that I'm hopefully starting to get now to fund all of that and get to the point where we do fun videos, social experiments, a ton of different variety of things. And the reason for that is I really want to just focus on creating a variety of content to show people that like variety is okay. I don't like sticking with just one thing. I think it's important in life to learn as much as you can. And that's why I particularly studied so many different things and have so many hobbies, is because I told myself, like, you're not going to fully understand the world if you don't fully understand as much as you can.
I actually super 1 trillion% agree with that. It always disappoints me when they're like, I'm a huge science fan. I love science, but I also love art and like I don't want to lie and say history. I try to read what I can, but like different social sciences, like art, philosophy, like this stuff is really interesting to me too. It's really sad to me when I see people that are, especially people that kind of go down like the STEM road, just basically like fuck all of art, fuck all the like that shit is dumb. Like I only do hard science, and it's like, damn, dude, you're missing like about 98% of the world. You know, like when you go home at night and turn on the TV, you're not watching, you know, a fucking chemist balance equations on a board or a physicist talking about, you know, like, yeah, it's like your whole life revolves around like art and social sciences, the music you listen to, the food that you eat, like the culture you experience. Yeah, I always find that that's like really sad when people think they can only like do or study or learn about one particular thing.
Yeah, no, and it's detrimental to like your ability to influence yourself in a positive way. So like as much as like, you know, we talk about that free will thing, the more people that create a variety of content and educate people, the better, because then it just basically keeps educating the people. You know, I'm not, you know, I can't attribute all of this passion that I have towards my particular free will, but if I continue with this path that I was pushed on, I can create content which then, you know, cause the domino effect, and hopefully more people end up like me, and then it ends up in a better society where it's saying, you know, I don't just know about the medical field, you know, I know why I particularly discredit women when they come in for heart problems. So that's actually a huge problem where women come in a lot describing heart attacks, and they get underdiagnosed significantly more than men because they assume that the women complain.
Women and African Americans. Yeah, I'm very familiar with those studies where, or an African American or a woman complain about pain, they're much less likely to be prescribed to sort of any drug or whatever. Which is actually really funny when you consider that women deal with things like periods that men never have to worry about. So they're probably used to taking pain more than men actually are, depending on your type of work. Yeah.
And that's the thing too. Sometimes I think even in that study they talk about like maybe it's also the it's a mixture of that plus the like the way they describe the pain, because they probably don't describe it in such a horrible way that like some men who haven't struggled as much do. You know, so to them it's like, hey, this is a, you know, and 7 out of 10 for me, but the women are like, this is a 5 out of 10, but it still hurts and it's bad.
Yeah,
and
and pain is very relative too, depending on, you know, where you're at in your life or the type of pain that you experience, for sure.
Yeah, so that's the thing for me. I'm like, look, as I go on society in every different way, the more I know, the better I'm going to be off with like being able to contribute and not fuck up and not misdiagnose my patients and not, you know, so like for me, especially as a therapist, I need to know these things. I need to understand the environment that they're in. I need to understand the culture that they're in. So for me, it's really, really important that I learn as much as I can, because like clients come in and they'll say things and I'm like, oh, well, like, let me explain it from a science standpoint too, so you can understand, you know, the genetics and the this and the that behind it. But if I didn't know that, like, it's hard to explain that, and then they won't really know the actual truth, and they're going to go around thinking certain things about themselves. So like one came in and we're going to be working with who she's lesbian, and some of my, you know, coworkers were like, oh, well, you know, they probably just had a bad father and that's why they're lesbian. And I'm like, well, no, like it's also genetic, and that plays a role too. So like it's not just hating their father. That's a misnomer. Like yes, that could be, but that's not, you know, usually. And so like that would helps me with my clients. That helps me not misdiagnose them. That helps me understand them in comparison to our reality. And so I just like you said, like we talked about, it's just so important to me that people learn as much as they can, because it's only going to help. And that's the problem. And that's what bothers me, because when I debate with people, I'm like, oh, have you read up on that particular topic that you're like making decisions on, especially when you vote? Like, no. I'm like, okay, well, maybe you shouldn't vote on this particular science bill if you don't know anything about science. Like, and so I think it's really important to like be informed on those things. So for me, I'm trying to educate people. I just know that obviously if I come out the bat swinging with educational videos on my TikTok and YouTube, it's not going to be as interesting, and I'm not going to get a following. So I'm starting off with funnier content, interesting content, and then I'm going to slowly move to things. Like I want to do cool studies where like a live form study where I take like a bunch of white students and a bunch of African-American students, and I put them in different classrooms, and I give all the white students books that like have torn, you know, pages, markers in them, a classroom that leaks, and then all the African-American students get iPads. and I teach them for 3 hours, and then they take a test at the end, and I show like the significance of growing up in classrooms that are underfunded, and I kind of show that.
Two very interesting lines of thought on that is that one, I don't know if you've heard of these, but there are actually studies that show that like a child's ability to focus can be determined by things like temperature in a classroom or carbon dioxide levels in a classroom. So like how much ventilation there is in the room, or like the affordability of air conditioner and stuff. That's an important thing. And then two, have you ever heard, there's an old British lady, well, she's old now, but she's really famous for doing a study where it's like blue people.
Yes,
oh no, the eye thing. Yeah. And watching their responses
so
to that is very interesting. Some people get very fucking upset about that shit. Man, there's so many studies like that. And then you've got like the two classics, the Stanford prison experiment for all of its flaws, and then like the Milgram experiment, which has been repeated so many times. It's so funny that when you do these studies of people, no psychologist or the line test about conformity.
Where you stand up and stuff.
I don't know if it's a stand one. No, not that line. Well, you have lines on a paper and you say whether or not they're the same height or not. Oh, Ash asks conformity, or Ash's conformity test.
That's the one where like everyone, they just do what the group says.
But yeah, even though it's clearly wrong. But it's going back to like the free will thing. It's funny to me that there's so many psychology like experiments that we've ran, and there's never been one where it's like, man, all the results were all over the place. I guess like people just choose whatever. It's usually like pretty predictable that you can force people to pick a certain thing, or that people tend to conform along certain lines. And you could show people like all these experiments, but they still walk around thinking like, well, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be that person. I wouldn't act that way. You know, like these people are all just whatever. Yeah, it's there's such a overwhelming amount of like psychology evidence that shows that like we all kind of make decisions in very similar ways.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. And it's it's like one of those things where I'm like, I don't know what to say to them, you know, when I'm like, because like again, it's just this offense. They get so offended that you're taking away their credit.
Yeah.
And so for them, I tell them that all the time, like, hey man, like, no, like, again, a lot of Republicans are big corporation people, and corporations thrive on the idea that you can convince people to do things they probably don't want to do. And you're sitting here telling me like, no, that's not true. And so, I mean, it's really difficult because I've really tried so many different ways to convince people. And so what I usually try and do is just bring them case by case with people. So I'll just be like, hey, like, well, here's a client that I have, like, here's a description. How do you suggest they fix their life? You know, and they'll be like, oh, we'll do this. I'm like, no, well, their dad abuses them and they can't leave the house. They're like, oh, well, then do this. I'm like, no, they actually can't do that because they don't have money. And so it's just so interesting. Like the guy I was debating today was like, oh, like, we're talking about like abortion or whatever. And he's just like, dude, it's not hard to buy a condom. And I'm like, well, it's expensive. And he's like, it's $3. That's so cheap. And I'm like, cheap to you? I'm like, that's not cheap to other people. And so they all come from this, but I. And I always tell them, I'm like, if you're trying to relate to the whole country and you're using the sentence me or I, it's not relatable.
There is this really frustrating thing that I run into that actually blows my mind. I can't tell if people are just getting frustrated or if they're literally incapable. Have you argued with people that just can't fathom a hypothetical? They can't do it.
Oh yeah, well they'll just tell me like that's not realistic. Oh, you know, my favorite is the rape one. I'll be like, oh yeah, like, you know, what about when then you have a baby? Oh bro, that like never happens. What are you talking about? I'm like,
oh, okay, let's say that it never happens, but okay, fine, let's say this. But what if it did? What would you do? It's like, well, you know, I just don't think that would ever happen. Or they start like trying to pick out parts of like, well, you know, like parts of the analogy that don't fit. Like, well, how could anybody get raped in that? And it's like, wait, what do you? It's just a hypothetical question. Like if you have like a basic basis by which you like review the world, like if you have some internal thought process that you use to figure out like what's right or wrong, you should be able to engage with a hypothetical sentence. Like technically, everything that you haven't seen firsthand is hypothetical because you don't really know if any story ever is true or not. Like you have to be able to visualize something. Yeah, this is one of the big things that sets us apart from animals is that we can, you know, conceptualize things that aren't immediately in front of us or happening right now. Like how are you telling me you can't do this? It's very frustrating.
Yeah. They do it because they know that they're heading into a position
that
where
they
they're
can't
gonna
defend.
Yeah, I did it today, and I was like, "Hey, we were talking about abortion," and he's like, "Oh, well, like that, you know, that's a baby, that's a real life baby." And I was like, "Hey, out of curiosity, if you had to save a life of one, a 6-year-old or an unborn baby, what would you choose?" Because he kept saying like they're all equal, and then he's like, He's like, why? Irrelevant
Where would I
question.
ever be in a spot where I have to choose between one or the other? Like, okay, what if you're in a burning building and you can, the one I hear a lot is a burning building and you can run out with like 100 embryos or like one baby. What would you choose? And people will be like, well, I would call the fire department. Like, dude, what the fuck? This is not what I'm asking you.
And they avoid it. And I'm like, dude, like, if you're avoiding it, you like, it's different if you say, obviously I would do this, but this is why. That's fine. But if you don't even answer it, I'm like, then you know. So he was like, unrealistic. And then I was like, well, just out of curiosity, could you just answer? And he's like, unrelated. You're trying to derailment, logical fallacy.
Oh,
and I was
yeah,
like,
the fallacy. You're using the fallacy. It's like, dude, it's a hypothetical question.
Yeah, I was like, hypothetical. And then he's like, the 6-year-old. And I was like, okay. I'm like, out of curiosity, if they're all equal, why did you pick the 6-year-old? He's like, well, because it has a life and it has a family and it has. I'm like, exactly.
Ooh, yikes. Yeah.
And I was like, exactly. That's my point. He's like, and I was like, bro, like you literally, you yourself
set yourself up
baby.
And dunked on your own like argument. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you set more value on one over the other. So that's what we do. We just do it to an extreme. And like, it's just so interesting, kind of walking them down the path. But I usually have, because I've done it. I've been debating now for, I think 10 years, and I've debated probably thousands of people because I'm annoying as hell and I debate everyone, but two, I've been in all these classes over the years. So I've taken 78 college classes, and all of them were related to, you know, some sort of political social issues. So I just debate constantly in all of them. And it's so interesting how many people, that like I've learned to just walk them down a path to where they'll say things. Like my favorite is I get them to walk down a path to say that pulling the plug on someone in a coma is murder. And so I get them to, now every time I debate with someone, they'll always be like, oh yeah, you're right, then it is murder. I would outlaw that, pulling the plug on someone. And so I usually just try and walk them down a path until they say something so extreme that it sounds ridiculous. Yeah. And you'd be very surprised. They hold with it. I get a lot of people who don't believe in gun control to say that we should legalize drinking and driving. Almost every single person that I debate with that will ultimately then say, okay, then I think drinking and driving should be legal.
Yeah, they start biting the bullet on some like extreme
cases, and they'll
take
it. They'll take it. Yeah.
They won't get that far with me. Usually when people realize what's going on, they usually like try to disengage as quickly as possible. Because that's I think we probably do like pretty similar styles. Like what I usually do is I try to figure out like what is a person's argument specifically for something, and then I try to like abstract like a generalized form of the argument, and then I just start plugging other things in. It's like, all right, well, let's see where you want to be at on this, and then when they realize what's happening, it usually is like, okay, fuck you, I don't want to do this anymore. Or like, whatever, this isn't even close to the same thing or whatever. And it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, no, and that's what happens a lot. And I, you know, for me though, I mean, I debate with people on both sides because I care that the reason they chose it is also the right reason. So I don't care if you're right or wrong, but if your reasons are wrong, then I think you're wrong. Like you need to understand the right reason.
Yeah, that's 100. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I don't even care if you agree with me. I just want to make sure you have like a good thought process. It's like you're rationalizing a way to get to a point, or no, not rationalizing, but using like a rational thought process to get to a conclusion. Even if we disagree, it's fine. But if you believe that like gun control is good because nobody should ever be able to have anything that could ever hurt anybody, well, that's not a very good thought process. Like, well, in that case, we could outlaw every single thing ever, right? You need like a better way to get there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I do that a lot. I'll just be like, you know, they'll be like, well, we need guns to beat the military. And I'm like, do you honestly think you could beat the military? And then, you know, like, well, we did it in 17, you know, and I was like, what, do you think that's the same thing as today? Like, I was like, you know, we could analyze Syria and see how well, you know, the rebels backed by the US is working out. I'm like, you know, sometimes it's like, it's not about that. I'm not saying having guns is good or bad. I'm saying if your logic is we need it to defend ourselves against the government,
it should hold in most places. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like, cool. Then wouldn't a nuke help you fight better? They're like, yeah. I'm like, so why can't we have nukes? And they're like, well,
and then you get them to draw a line somewhere.
Well, no, they'll just be like, where do I even get a nuke from, idiot? And I'm like, well, again, it's not hard. If you actually take bio classes, like you could learn how to create things like that. And they're just like unrealistic. And I'm like, okay, what about like bombs? They're like, well, you could make bombs. I'm like, well, it's illegal. Like, but you could. And I'm like, again, it's illegal. I was like, are you saying we should be able to have bombs? They're like, and then they'll be like, yeah, I think we should be able to have bombs and rocket launchers and grenades, and everyone should be able to buy them from wherever. Because I'm like, yeah, if you want to be able to defend yourself from the government, then that would help far more than an AR. So if that's your thing, then you should advocate for more lethal weapons, because you're not going to do shit with an AR, you know, in comparison to their drones and tanks and gas. And so I find it really funny because then they'll be like, oh, well, yeah, then I would agree that a nuke would be good. And I was like, oh, okay.
Sure, yeah.
But we do have like a lot of the same views, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I think like you said, we grew up in kind of like the same thing. But what's your like viewership like? Like, what do they all lean with you? Like, how does like what did you do to start streaming? And like, did you talk politics and philosophy in the beginning as well?
I mean, like, I've always been interested in a wide variety of topics. I don't think anybody should ever be specialized ultra like hardcore in one area. So back in my early days, I was like, I guess a professional StarCraft player, but we still talked about politics or philosophy or science or whatever in my free time or whenever I wanted to. And then I think around 2016, I took like a hard bend towards more political stuff because I saw all of the Trump stuff going on, and it's like, okay, well, this seems kind of crazy. Let's talk a little bit more about it. And then I took it more seriously, and then I've kind of been, from there, I guess, doing more politically oriented stuff.
Oh, so like that, like 2016 is where you started moving over. Oh, it's interesting.
Start like doing it like hardcore, where like before then, like most people knew me from streaming and gaming. Maybe a couple people like, oh, I saw you talk about this one thing and I really like that. But now, like I'd say a lot of people, or maybe even most people, know me from like political stuff. That's where people hear about me first.
Yeah. I'm like trying not to push too much politics on my stuff yet because I don't want to dissuade the people that are there already.
Yeah, for sure.
But I know when I get big enough, I'm like, whatever. Then it's okay if some of my audience leaves. But as of now, like it'll be a little bit detrimental. So that's so funny. A lot of Arabs too in your chat too.
A lot of what?
Arabs in your chat.
Oh yeah, we used to talk about Middle Eastern stuff a lot. I don't know how much of them are around because of that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I see like a lot. They're like yeah, he was. Is he from Lebanon? But yeah, so yeah, it's kind of interesting because like social media is really difficult nowadays with this Trump era. Like I feel like 2008, 9, 10, 12, it was like you could talk on both sides and it wasn't as extreme. Like, and I noticed because I lost so many of my family members to like Trump support. Like
my family is all, dude, my family are ride or die conservatives. Holy shit. I ended up removing almost all of my family from Facebook because I couldn't handle the arguments anymore. Holy shit, it was fucking horrible.
I literally don't even talk to my aunt anymore because she was like, oh, like, you know, your grandma would have loved Trump. And I'm like, bro, my grandma literally fought to the death for Palestine. Like, no, she wouldn't. Like, and she just like freaked out. And I was like, dude, like, it's so interesting that these people, I have people right now DMing me telling me that Martin Luther King loves Trump or would have loved Trump and he was a Republican.
I love it when right-leaning people try to claim Martin Luther King, the guy that was probably a literal fucking socialist, like unironically, like try to say that like fucking MLK would be their black. Yeah, holy shit.
Yeah, and I'm like, really? I'm like, they're like, yeah, no, like he definitely he was Republican, and I was like, no, his niece is like a diehard Trump supporter and said, oh, he would have supported Trump, but his own daughter and son said the opposite, and I'm like, you guys literally, and like his policies don't align at all, so it's just difficult because I try and always separate myself and think, okay, Dominic, like maybe you could be wrong, like don't be so, you know, hard-headed on it. You know, there's no way that they're all this dumb or this like ignorant on these topics, and it's never really.
Yeah, that's actually a really scary thing. One of the things I get the most frightened about, especially doing politics online, is that it's very easy to get lost down a hole of your own like fanatic supporters. And I see it happen to probably most people that do politics online, where it's like you've had the same political views on everything for the past like 5 years. Like you haven't changed on any position. Like, do you truly still feel the same way, or do you feel like you have to talk the same way for your viewers, or do you not have the ability to audit your own thoughts or be introspective and figure out if you may or may not be wrong on something? And especially when it comes to the Trump stuff, yeah, like you have to be quite arrogant to think that you're correct over so many other people, and it's hard sometimes. It's like, are there really that many people that are that fucking delusional? Like, fuck, man. At some point, I have to wonder if maybe I'm the one that's being crazy.
Yeah, and that's what I try to. What I usually try and tell myself is, don't get lost in your own beliefs. Just focus on disproving others, so you at least know that's definitely not the truth.
Sure.
So I like usually like tell people like, oh, what's your view? I'm like, forget my view. Like, I'm trying to determine true or not. And then because like I'm not gonna waste my time, because like there's two different things. First there's disproving you, then there's proving me. So let's focus on one of those first. And so I try and focus on like, okay, like this is your belief. Let's see if we can break it down.
Yeah.
So that's like something that I try and do with my debates is like I try and keep it focused on what they believe. And then if I disprove them or they get caught in the thing where they don't make any sense, then I'm like, okay, great. There's no reason for me to believe you at this point. Until you can kind of rationalize these different questions and things.
Yeah. I will say one thing I've changed in the present, like something very recently. I've tried to be more constructive rather than destructive with my arguments. Like I used to literally only try to like disprove other people's like stuff. Like, let me demonstrate why your thought process is incoherent. This is why you're being irrational or contradictory. And then I would leave it there. But I've noticed that there's probably more value in trying to build positive cases towards things you believe in instead of only being destructive towards other people's ideas. I think probably helps. So you give somebody something to believe in after you've kind of showed them why their particular position is irrational or illogical.
Oh yeah. I only do that once I feel that they've kind of paused and they feel like they don't have an answer, and then I go, okay, so now you'll understand why this is better because it helps with this, and this. But it's, the thing is, I've noticed there are people who right off the bat are interested to learn, and there are people who right off the bat are like, no, I'm right, you're wrong, that's how it is, never gonna change.
Yeah, that seems to be most people, I think. Well, not maybe, it's more just like they can't even fathom that they could be incorrect about something, so they're gonna hold on to it for dear life.
Yeah, no, 100%, and I think it comes down to the idea too that you are also discrediting their family, because obviously like 80% of people hold the same views as their family. So like you're basically saying, hey, your mom's wrong, your dad's wrong, your whole upbringing's wrong, and so you're breaking down so much of that. And so that's why it's difficult. That's why too, like for me, the number one topic that I care about too is white privilege, like the Black disparities and socioeconomic issues, especially under education, as I was talking about. And they're just so much like they feel like if you attack them by saying, they have something other people don't, they feel so offended, and so like you're basically destroying my whole upbringing.
Yeah, that's a hard one right off the bat. Yeah.
So what do you usually play every time? Like, what do you usually play? I know you're playing Minecraft right now, but what else do you play?
I mean, my main real game is probably, as much as I had to say, is a game called League of Legends right now. If I'm having like serious conversations, I'll just like run around like in Minecraft or something because I can focus on the conversation then. But yeah,
League kind of died out for me. I used to play like every single day. I got into TFT and I love TFT, but then the update recently I was a little bit overwhelming, so I kind of died off on TFT. And now I play Fortnite because I feel like it's not as competitive. Like I don't need to focus, and I can like, even if I die, it's like not a big deal. I could just restart.
Sure.
Especially if I play like Team Rumble, where it's just 50 or 21st 20, and you can come back to life. But I'm gonna start streaming, I think, now on Twitch more, because my agency is like, hey, if you do political stuff, you're gonna lose a lot of your a lot of your brand deals, and I'm like, great. So I'm like, maybe I'll just make Twitch like my more edgy platform, and then like stick with it from there, and then everything else can just be like fun loving, happy stuff. But like, oh yeah, dude, like, yeah, 2 days ago, I literally had 100,000 people watching live. It was insane.
On TikTok or Twitch?
Yeah, on TikTok.
If you could convert those to live Twitch viewers, that would make you like one of the most viewed Twitch streams. It would be really crazy. I don't know how hard it is to convert them from one to the other, but...
Oh yeah, I mean, so it's difficult to convert Twitch or TikTok over to Twitch because there's no direct link. So there's going to be more barriers to entry. But like with my Instagram and my YouTube, in one day my YouTube jumped 50,000 followers.
Yeah,
or subscribers.
Really, yeah.
So like it definitely has a good conversion rate for YouTube and Instagram. My Instagram's a bit low. I only have like 18 or 19,000, but it does have that. But yeah, they don't have a Twitch button, and I'm curious if they'll add it, because that would change the game. But my only thing I always think about is like, I wonder how many TikTok viewers are actually Twitchers, because they're not going to convert. Like, because you know what I mean? Like Twitch takes so much effort to be on. It's long-term streaming. It's not some quick video. You have to be more engaged. And so I feel like if you're not a Twitcher, I can't convince you to be one just for me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it is fundamentally different. Although, like, even if that percentage was only like 2%, if you can really pull like 100,000 live viewers and get like 2,000 of those over on Twitch, you'd still be like one of the larger Twitch streams with 2,000 viewers. Like, that's still quite a bit of people over here on this platform.
Bit of people. Yeah. I struggled on Twitch. I had like I said, I had an account called League of Updates on Instagram, and I was able to pull like I gained like a few. I think I only have like 1,900 followers from it. So I gained followers, but it was like one of those things, like, you know how Twitch is. You get a 500,000, you're gonna get 1% of them live.
Yeah, a lot of followers don't really mean much on Twitch. Like, a lot of people have a lot of followers, and it doesn't really translate to viewership. Like, tons of people have 300, 400, 500,000 followers, and they get like anywhere from 100 to 4,000 concurrent viewers. Like, it doesn't matter much.
Yeah, and that was like difficult for me. Like my cousin streams on Twitch almost every single day for 6 hours. He's been doing it for 3 years, and he still barely averages 10 people. And like I was telling him, I'm like, hey man, like you need to diversify. People aren't gonna find you through Twitch as much. You gotta be found somewhere else, and then bring them over. But it was you. Like, how did you do it? Did you just stream in the beginning and that's it?
Yeah, but I started 10 years ago now. I've been doing this for a long time. I was one of the first people to like ever actually do this full time.
Oh, yeah. That's the other thing too. Like with TikTok, I got on it right before, even though it was only a few months ago, it was right before it hit mainstream, because TikTok 6 months ago was not mainstream. Sure. And now it's like they have more downloads than Instagram, Facebook, like more daily users. Like they're literally surpassing everyone. So like I got on it right before it. I rode the wave up, and then it kind of like now it's just kind of finding my niche on TikTok, because they're starting to get a lot more users. But I'm gonna be doing like a lot more different stuff. I want to do more space stuff. Like I do, like I said, astrophotography, different things like that, and that's kind of be like my next focus, because I really, like I said, I want to educate my audience, as well as like do some positive things like give away money and different things like that.
Sure.
So hopefully over time that'll I'll start pushing more. But honestly, like TikTok is going to change social media. We're getting so many more influencers popping up now. Like I'm really interested to see the effects of now that every single person on Twitch on TikTok has hundreds of thousands of followers, and all of their Instagrams are blowing up because of it. So it's converting. It's not just TikTok. So I'm really curious to see how the TikTok kind of exposure changes the social media world. I feel like Twitch, you're like the only safe space away from TikTok, because it's just so different.
Maybe, yeah. Twitch is pretty insulated from like the Instagram and the TikToks and even Twitter to some extent, kind of. Although there's more crossover from Twitter, but yeah, it's a pretty insulated platform. It's hard to convert other audiences from other platforms to Twitch, and then from Twitch to other platforms. I'd say your number one like inflow outflow is probably going to be YouTube, but in terms of like Vine, I know that doesn't exist anymore. But like in terms of like Instagram, TikTok, like those types of shorter form content, there's not much crossover. It doesn't seem like it.
Did you ever have you ever tried TikTok?
I personally haven't. No. Yeah,
it's an inch. Do you even have it downloaded on your phone or?
No, but I hate phone and phone apps, so it's not for me. Yeah, I never do any of that stuff. I'm a boomer.
Yeah, I'm with you. It is. TikTok is much different than anything. It's really, really different than any other platform I've seen. But I mean, the potential is absolutely insane.
Yeah. For sure.
So that's why I'm like really pushing TikTok so hard. Like right now, I'm on TikTok Live. I just kind of have it running, and there's 700 people for me, and like that takes a lot to build up on any other platform. It would be like years in the making, unless I did some sort of public stunt to get that on any other platform. So for all the TikTok people watching, we're on Twitch right now. You can go to Destiny on Twitch, so twitch.tv/Destiny, or you can go to twitch.tv/Dominic Andre _ same as here. So if you guys want to come in, listen in for the next few minutes, we're up here on Twitch right now. And if you guys like Minecraft, he's playing Minecraft right now, so you guys can go watch him play Minecraft. I'm actually watching him play as I talk. It's a little bit mesmerizing. I don't know. You probably don't notice, but I'm literally watching you play, because it's just I used to play Minecraft a lot, and then I haven't played it in like 4 years, and I want to so bad because I actually really loved it.
Yeah, I mean, like Minecraft definitely goes through like ups and downs, I think, in terms of popularity. Like every now and then there'll be like a new patch, or like PewDiePie or somebody will start playing again, and then all of a sudden like everybody's doing it for a little bit, and there's like a ton of views for it. Yeah.
So teach me a little bit about you know, and I could teach you a little bit about TikTok, but teach me a little bit about Twitch's world. What is those collaborations like? What's that? Because like with you guys are so different than us. Like we just talked about, like when we collaborate, we can't collaborate online, but you almost exclusively collaborate online.
Yeah, I mean, there is some collaboration online, especially when it comes to playing games with each other, but actually the real life collaboration has gotten more, like such that people are living in like big streamer houses and everything together. So you've got like a couple of notable ones. Offline TV is a streamer house of like League of Legends players and real life content creators. You've got like different streamer houses down in Austin, Texas, where people kind of like make content together and are all friends together and do stuff. So, I mean, there's definitely more real life collaboration happening now than I think there ever was in the past on Twitch's platform.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's just so different because like all of your guys's you know, collaborations. Like I talked with Pokimane for a while, and she just has such like, it's just so different. Like the marketing strategies are different, the content is different. It's just like Twitch streamers are literally another breed than everyone else. It takes a totally different mentality. It takes a totally different personality because you know so many of these people are fake, but Twitch you can't be fake. You have to sell you, and that's just it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how far I would say that no one is fake here, but I mean, like,
You know what I
it
mean?
is a
Like-
much higher level of authenticity. Yeah, like you can't fake a personality for
8
like,
hours on the
yeah,
stream.
you
Yeah,
can't. Yeah, to some extent, like what you're seeing is going to be pretty similar to what this person is like in real life. Like you can't fake that much. It's too much for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it is. And then like doing content live that many hours, you do have to be far more mindful than in a video. You know, if you let something slip, you know, like PewDiePie did when he tried to live stream for a bit, you know, stuff like that could be really catastrophic. And there is no, you know, delete button or rewind button when you're live streaming. Like it's all out there forever. So.
yeah, no, and that like exactly like you have to have a built-in filter, and if you don't, there are consequences. You don't have a second chance, and so that's why to be honest, that's probably why we're seeing so many more Twitch streamers get in trouble than a lot of other ones now. A lot of other content creators, because you know they do things like the girl who threw her cat, or the person who pushed her dog or hit her dog. I forgot what she did, or spit on her dog or something like that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you guys have a little bit more scrutiny on you because you guys don't have the ability to kind of think before you do things, or you know, check it before you post it. So
you can't like edit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like honestly, I tried streaming for a few hours each day for like I think a month or 2 months, and it was draining. I don't know how you do it, and I'm curious because I drained myself being like, what the hell do I talk about for 6 hours?
I mean, I just enjoy it. I'm really lucky. Like I don't have to try or do a lot. Like it's just if I wasn't a streamer, I would already be like debating people and playing video games and stuff like that. So for me, it's just like a natural extension of what I do anyway. Like I always prioritize what I want to do on stream, and then that's just yeah.
So I love playing video games. Obviously, I love fucking talking. But what's your day to day, like your average stream? Because like for me, I could do this when we talk, and then you know, but do you most of your streams, are you not talking to someone, and like what's the conversation like? Is it just like, because like obviously you have a choice, at least when you're going into a game, maybe you're talking with the people in the game, but if you're not talking to people in the game and you're playing, like, let's say Minecraft, and there's no guest like me on, what do you do?
I mean, it depends. Sometimes I'll play League of Legends in silence and not say much at all. People will sometimes watch for that. Sometimes I'll play games and we just talk about, like, since I do politics, there's always something to talk about, right? You know, whatever's going on in the news right now, it's the Iowa shit and the New Hampshire caucus stuff coming up, or primary coming up. Like, yeah, I mean, there's always something to talk about. You know, whether it's running around in a game like Minecraft or talking politics, philosophy, or debating people, or chatting with people, or playing games with people, or just playing games of my own. Yeah.
Here, I'll put my Instagram up there because that's a little bit more personal. Yeah, that's something that like I try to talk politics and stuff like that. And obviously I love doing it on stream, but getting an audience is like the tough part. But it's good that, I mean, you have consistency. Honestly, something that I never really learned in my life, which I struggled with, was consistency with these things. And I would have been a much different person if I had the ability to focus. That's something that I really didn't have the ability to do.
Yeah, I have trouble with that as well, unless it's something that I enjoy. So I mean, like, I like streaming, so it's just easy for me. Yeah. Yeah, I could lie and say that I have like some amazing discipline or anything like that. Obviously, like, it does require some level of discipline, but I really enjoy doing this. Given if I wasn't a streamer, I would be doing all the same things. I'd be playing video games. I'd be debating people online.
Yeah.
I just have to work another job as well.
Yeah, no, and then so I got now I got like 55 people on my stream, so I appreciate it. But so from one influencer, I'm a shitty fake one, but to another, what do you think the number one tip is for people? Obviously, I think consistency is the tip that I always give, but from someone who's in a completely different field, what do you think that tip is?
Yeah, I mean, consistency is important. The major killer question that I always ask, this is true for like small business people and everything as well, is like, what's something that you feel like you offer, like in a way that nobody can get in any other place, or you offer it better than the other people offering it? Like, if you have an answer to that question, then you're good to go. If you don't know the answer to that question, then you should stop immediately and figure that out before you go further. So like, you need to be offering some product or service that nobody else is, or offering something that other people are that other people aren't offering as well as you think you can. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I think that, I always try and think about like, hey, what am I going to do when I go on Talk? And then, okay, cool. Someone did that. What can I do a little bit differently? So I always try and think about that. I literally just posted a video of me getting 100 pounds of dry ice and getting in the shower with it. So I was like, oh, like a lot of people put them in their pool. I'm like, let me do something a little bit different. And then let me talk a little bit more science behind it. So I try and offer a little bit like of those funny, cool videos with a little bit more science behind it to like give people some education / like a difference than just being like, let's throw 100 pounds in and laugh at it. So I try to educate my audience with what I know. But mostly I'm just trying to spark those people to kind of ask more questions. But honestly, you guys have do you know your average age? Are you able to see analytics on your followers?
I don't think we have things like age, but I do poll sometimes on my subreddit. I have to go back and check. I think my audience, what is it, like 24, 25? It's a little bit older than I think the Twitch average, just probably because we talk about politics and everything so often. But
yeah, because like TikTok, the average is like 13.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, it's a much younger platform.
Yeah, so it's interesting because TikTok has the ability to kind of repurpose old content from other platforms to TikTok, and they love it because it's just new to them. But at the same time, like TikTok bans, I've been banned from TikTok like 25 times.
Jesus, for what?
I had a knife in one of my videos. I cut open a boba bag and they banned me for that. They're very adamant about like nothing bad. They banned me with that science video I just posted that hit like 9 million. I tried to post part 2 and TikTok banned my part 2 of it. And people were like, why aren't you posting part 2? Like you were just trying to like troll us. And I was like, no, like TikTok's literally banning me from posting something that looks chemical like, but it's just dry ice. And they banned it. They banned, I think my girlfriend in the back of one of my videos flipped me off. They banned that.
Jeez.
They banned, my girlfriend actually posted on her TikTok a video of like, have you ever seen those bikinis that people make with the black tape?
The bikinis? Did you say that?
Yeah, like they make like bikinis, like cool designs with black electrical tape, and they make like a bikini out of it or like a lingerie kind of looking thing.
No, I haven't seen that.
It's kind of like on Instagram, but it's basically just like black tape, and they do a design and they cover obviously any important parts that can't be seen. So she posted that on her TikTok and they perma-banned her.
Damn. Like she's still banned to this day?
Yeah, she had to make a new one. She's already like 100K in the past 2-3 weeks or like 4 weeks, but yeah, she had to make a whole new one from that. And I was like, dude, it's so frustrating that you can't do so much on TikTok. So I have to like, you can't show fire. So all my experiments and so that's really, really frustrating because I always try and post like cool, really like fire videos and they won't let me do it.
Damn.
It's tough. TikTok is so tough to follow their guidelines and create content relative to what they want.
Yeah, so they're trying to hit up the ultra PG-13 angle, right?
Well, they got sued in India for basically showing like bad things to younger kids. So they're like, okay, well, we don't want to get shut down because they got shut down for 3 weeks in India. Their app was removed. So they probably lost tens of millions of dollars from that. And so I think in their mind that like, okay, we'd rather keep everyone and then just ban everything than take any risk of getting banned because their audience is so young. But the interesting thing is their audience is so young too that you get donations. I got a donation, a $400 donation last night from a 11-year-old, which means it's from his parents' card.
His parents, yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what to morally do with this because I can't give it back. There's no ability for me to do that. And I'm like, his parents are going to kick his ass when they find out he donated $400 on their card.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's interesting because I literally have the money sitting there and I'm like, I don't want to take it out because I feel bad. And I know that like, it's going to be an issue. And then they try and ban people under the age of 18 from donating, but it didn't work. And so, cause obviously no one puts their real age.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the difficulty too with TikTok. So we're just like, I've been trying to like jump over platforms, but it's so hard to transfer mindsets.
Yeah, for sure. TikTok seems to be a very particular type of audience that doesn't just immediately translate to another audience. Whereas if you had like YouTube or something, like it's a little bit easier to bring some of them over to Twitch. But yeah, TikTok seems very, very, very different.
Yeah, very different. So like, it's nice though, because like a lot could be a little bit more childish, but they love it. So it's like, it's cool because I don't need to buy 50,000 pounds to make someone happy. I could literally be like, I'm going to buy 100 pounds of dry ice and they're ecstatic from it. And it's cool. So you don't need to do anything that crazy because they'll be interested. But it is really, really difficult to stay within their guidelines. So yeah, TikTok's a different breed. With Twitch, I've learned because my cousin streams so much, he's like, just don't say these racial slurs and you're pretty much good. Generally,
yeah. Or stay away from nudity, yeah. But otherwise, yeah, it's not that hard.
Yeah. So it's different. But I mean, yeah, like so watching you now, right? You got 5,000 people. What causes that to hit 10,000? So like Pokemon's right now at 10,000. I'm sure you've had days where you've hit something like that. What triggers that? What do you do differently?
It totally depends on the type of content you do. So like for me, for instance, like I do, people know me for politics. That's like my biggest draw. So if I want to get like 10,000 plus viewers, I have to be debating somebody basically, or talking like about a Democratic debate might be going on. There has to be like a really big political thing going on for me to pull those types of viewers. For other people, it really just depends on the type of content that you do.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, I'm curious because like I see all these people kind of have days where they're jumping up, jumping down. And I was just curious of like what causes someone to see that, and be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Drama. But, also drama is a very big thing as well that people are pointing out. Yeah, if there's like some dramatic shit going on, people like super tune into stuff like that.
So what do you mean by drama now? Is that drama like intra Twitch drama, or like
you fighting with like another Twitch streamer, or people fighting with each other, or maybe covering drama of other people? Yeah, we'll get like a lot of viewers as well.
See, and that's what sucks is like we're incentivized to cause problems. Yeah. Like, because it's just gonna help. And I think about that a lot when I like create videos. In fact, a lot of times, so like actually yesterday I actually filmed the no, I don't think anyone noticed this, but I filmed the dry ice bit in my shower, and my girlfriend was on the toilet at the time, and I didn't realize I was like filming, and I didn't realize you could see her like kind of, you could tell definitely what's going on. You just obviously can't see anything in particular, but you could tell that someone's literally taking a shit on the toilet.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to post this because what's going to happen is it's going to cause this uproar of like, bro, does anyone see that in the background? And so I'm literally like, this is so interesting because I try and stay away from anything like that unless it's harmless, like what I just said. But it does really suck because like I see this a lot, and me and my friends always debate what they always think that any drama that happens with influencers is all premeditated to cause more hype, which I don't think. I'm like, no, dude, most people are naturally idiots anyway. They're going to do that.
And like, if we look at like, it's a bunch of people that are like online doing like crazy shit that are all like, together, like drama is naturally going to happen. This idea that people are like scripting, drama and shit is like hilariously stupid. Like nobody that is in this world has even like the discipline to do something like that. Yeah.
I notice people, and I guess it goes to that whole free will. People really give other people way too much credit.
Too much credit, yeah.
Yeah, I see that all the time, and like I always talk about that when it comes to politics, where people are like, "Bro, they talk about like, oh, like the DNC is conspiring against Bernie," or "Oh, this Illuminati is doing." I go, "Bro, you don't understand. With the amount of people going on, they all just have stupid ideas. They're doing what they do, and then it ends up just fucking someone over, and then you think it's a conspiracy, but it's just like this natural." What I always say is like life's just like this river, and like. You could be a billionaire all you want. That just means you're a bigger boulder, but you're not moving the river. You can make a ripple. You can maybe change a little bit, but it's just going to happen as it does. And so I see that a lot happening where people really play too much into like these super powerful people changing society. And I'm like, bro, the reason why they're not is because there are people on the other side probably doing the exact opposite of what they're doing as just as powerful.
Sure.
So your chat's so interesting. I literally reading this is like really, really interesting.
Yeah.
But they mostly have like the similar views you do. Do you ever get like a lot of debating with chats or not really?
It depends on like what specific issue we're talking about. Like for a long time, I attacked a lot of conservatives, so my audience got very, very, very left leaning. So sometimes we fought recently over those kinds of issues. And then other times, like people just know my reputation as somebody that debates, so strangers will show up to like have arguments with me. But yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. They well, yeah. So do you sit there sometimes and just interact with chat or no?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like when I'm playing games like this, it's usually me just like doing random stuff in game and then interacting with chat. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to get back into it. I think that's like where I want to head, just because I can keep a lot of more of my boring topics on Twitch. And those who are really interested can come over and talk. So for those of you guys, there's like 1,000 people now watching me on TikTok. For those of you guys on TikTok, if you guys want to go over to twitch.tv/destiny, I'm talking with him right now and he's playing Minecraft. And I know all of you guys like Minecraft. So you should go over to twitch.tv/destiny. He's got 4,972 people watching. So let's see if we can get that number up. Twitch.tv/destiny. I'm going to see you guys all there. And we're talking right now about a bunch of different things. So if you guys want to hop over there and watch him play Minecraft, you should be doing that right now. Wow, dude, your chat goes wild.
Yeah.
And okay, the other thing that I find difficult, TikTok, we don't have slang. You guys have slang.
Oh yeah, there's like a culture of like emotes and stuff that's like pretty popular.
Yeah. Like, okay, so Pogger, I don't know what that is. I see that all the time.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to explain a lot of this. You just have to be in it for a while and then eventually you kind of learn.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I'm like, wow, like the culture is so deep in Twitch because you guys have such an older group of people and younger. So you have well sophisticated people that kind of come up with this like
kind of. I think it's
subculture.
I think a lot of it has to do with the platform itself being older as well. So for instance, like Twitch has been around for years. So for a decade. So of course, like people have more time to like develop memes and everything related to it.
Yeah, that, and I mean, you guys also have like TikTok. We don't have a subculture that drives us to TikTok, but Twitch has gaming, and it has a lot of things like anime and different things like that kind of bring people together. So then it brings those subcultures in. So I noticed that a lot. Like a lot of my audience back then, when I was streaming on Twitch a lot, is they would bring up like a lot of anime terms, a lot of anime like slang, and I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. They like bring in their culture, and it gets like attached to Twitch.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, other cultures come in and kind of like integrate and like mingle and everything. Yeah,
so Twitch is definitely something that like I really want to get into more. I actually want to study. Like I actually did like I was studying language and how like in English we developed obviously keyboards and we distributed them around the world. So in Arabic, we didn't have an Arabic keyboard for years. So we actually developed our own sub language in English using numbers and letters to make our alphabet.
Oh, nice. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So like in Arabic, we don't have the letter Ain, which is literally its own letter. So we use the letter 3 or the number 3 as Ain. And so, or like Kha, we use the number 7. And so because they didn't have the ability to use their language, so we literally were like, so people are actually typing it right now. You can see it like Wallah Gaf Alek, like they're able to literally use the numbers and letters to make words.
Sure.
And so,
and I'm sure that there's probably like a lot of jokes and memes that developed as a result of using said numbers and letters that like strip out the words. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And not even that, just the influence that basically forced them to learn English too, and then it forced them to kind of adopt more Western culture through the internet, through the computer, because just starting with the keyboard. So I think that's so interesting. Of how much like all the internet has subcultures. There's a lot of studies on like memes and different things like that, and the transportation of knowledge and conspiracy theories. So there's like a lot of stuff with that, and I that's something that I really wanted to get into, which is find social media so fascinating.
Yeah.
So if you weren't doing social media, what would you do? For work?
Man, I have no idea. Probably something related to computers or something, I would imagine. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I'm not sure.
Well, like what did you like when you, because you started, you said 10 years ago, but you were like 20 something at the going to school or something?
My life was just kind of shit. I had another job, but I ended up getting fired from it. So I was like doing nothing. I was a carpet cleaner. My life was pretty fucked.
I mean, hey, it led to this, man. Like,
yeah, luckily,
if that wouldn't have happened, you probably wouldn't have been here.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, no, I really appreciate it. Like, I really appreciate you having, because I honestly want to be able to get back into Twitch a little bit more. So it's nice to like get back in that groove, and then too having someone to bounce off during the stream, because it'd be so hard to do this without that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was like talking to my professor a lot. I don't know how he with you. I was just like, oh, like, he was like, oh, I did a stream with someone. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, I didn't know he would, like, it was someone that had a big following. And I'm like, oh, cool, who? And he's like, this guy named Destiny. And then I looked it up, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, wow. I was like, that's nice. I was like, that was really good. What did you think about him?
It was interesting. It's very hard for me to know the direction. Like, I'm still kind of thinking now where I want to go with people that are running for Congress, because you have to play an interesting game where, like, my reputation online usually comes from like pretty rigorous debates. Like, that's what people generally know me for. But if I bring like a congressman or a congressperson or whatever onto my stream for a conversation, like, I don't want them to feel like they're coming into the Thunderdome and like I'm about to try to destroy their congressional career or something. So I have to walk this weird line between where I'm kind of interviewing someone, but I don't want to give them a free pass on everything. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out like what I want to do with that, like how brutal I want to be versus how much it's just kind of like a standard interview or casual conversation. Yeah.
I mean, you could probably just develop it in the questions of like, what would you do in this scenario? And instead, you know what I mean? Because like, they're real scenarios. They're going to have to answer it because there's something that they're going to have to deal with. And their answer alone will kind of do that for you. Because if they have a shitty ass answer, you know what I mean? They're going to destroy themselves. And then that's kind of on them, because you're just like, okay, like, so what do you tell the single mother who, you know, this,
Mm-hmm.
how do you deal with it with healthcare, education, or blah, blah, blah. And then you can kind of let them kind of put themselves in what bubble they want to. Because I mean, they're going to have to answer stupid if their answer is stupid, and they're going to have to answer smart if their answer is smart anyway.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I think that'd be interesting, because I didn't watch too much of that stream. I want to probably go back and see it.
Mm-hmm.
He's very, very intelligent. I think he would do a good job, because I think he has experience in a lot of different fields.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he seemed like a really smart guy. He didn't seem dumb or anything at all. I definitely impression,
Yeah, he definitely has. He has influence from his like past of like different things, but generally, I think he's just very intelligent. And you know, I always tell people when it comes to politics, we should just try things, because at this point, you know, you can't really predict how any particular policies how it's going to work. So you know, I'm really for the brand of just saying let's try it and give it a few years, because clearly, you know, it's not going to get that much worse than it is now. So why don't we try these things? If it doesn't work, we repeal them, we update, we, you know, move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So he definitely has an educated point of view, but, you know, you never know how policy is going to go. As much as you want to think that you've studied every little bit about it, you never know those kind of outside effects that happen.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. What do you ever like do you have any other like TikTokers that you're trying to bring over that you want to like get more involved in Twitch related stuff? Or
so I'm going to be doing you guys TikTok, there's like 1.1 thousand people now. If you guys are on my TikTok and you guys want to hear what's going on, come over to Twitch, twitch.tv/Destiny. I'm over here right now. We got 5,000 people live watching. And if you guys want to go to mine, it's just at Dominic Andre _ on Twitch as well. So for 1.1 thousand of you guys, come over to Twitch, because you're going to be able to hear him, because you're only hearing, and you're probably just like, well, who is this guy talking to? For me, so what I'm doing is I got signed with Collab. That's the same agency that hosts David Dobrik.
Yeah, I work with them. I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Okay,
perfect. Yeah, so I'm signed with them, and they obviously picked up every damn TikToker there is at this point. And so they have a large variety. And so what I'm thinking about doing is bringing them on and starting a podcast. So I'm going to start driving out to LA like once every month and do like 5 or 6 people in a row, like one after the other, and kind of get like 5 or 6 podcasts filmed. And it's just going to be topics related to so like the few topics I had was like aliens, are they real? Because that's something I'm really, really passionate about. Why haven't we seen them? Alien, spottings, is that real? Different things like that. Some of them would be like, so my goal is to build a persona called Professor Dominic. That's what my first podcast I did was called. And the idea is that like you as the guest aren't coming on to talk about yourself, but you're coming on to ask questions to me about something, and then we work on it together, kind of like a therapy thing. But like it could be anything from like science to like, hey, let's talk about dating, what do you think about this? And then I break it down from a therapist standpoint to a bunch of different things. So I'm trying to work with all these influencers. They have all the following. They don't really talk about educational / important issues, but they can come on my podcast and do that and have an outlet to do that. And I'll let them bring on the topic that they're passionate about. I'll do research on it and explain it better. So they bring on questions to me to be like, hey, can you explain this better? And then I like go pull up this data and this information or whatever it may be, and I go over it with them.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, cool.
So that's like, because I was like, look, every podcast is the same shit. Like, bring on a guest, tell me about your expertise, and I'm like, that's cool and all, but I'm like, they can always go find those people on their own. If they're listening to me, then they want to hear my perspective. So I'm just gonna be like, bring on your question, whatever it is, and we'll work on it together. And then when I become independently licensed as a therapist, I'm trying to think how I can integrate that to do like live therapy sessions sometimes with people, or like in general, because I really wanted to start by kind of breaking down the stigma around mental health, but then also showing how much of these influencers have issues like that.
Have you ever heard of somebody on the platform called Dr. K?
I just saw everyone spamming that. I have not.
So this is a guy that does like therapy and stuff live on Twitch. Might be interesting to look into.
A doctor, is it just doctor and then K?
I think it's Healthy Gamer GG. I think is his Twitch chat. Or if you go to my YouTube, if you go to my YouTube and you look at the video,
I see him. Yeah, I see him.
I'm having a conversation with him. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see this right now. Okay, that's kind of cool. So does he do actual therapy?
I don't think he brands himself as an actual therapist, but that's basically what he's doing. Yeah.
Oh, so he's not an actual therapist?
Well, I think he is.
Oh no, he's a psychiatrist. Yeah,
but he can't like say that because he's not taking on actual patients with
Yeah, no,
he's a psychiatrist. Yeah, he works at Harvard right now, I think.
Oh, damn, that's awesome. That's actually really cool. Yeah, so he'll be on tomorrow, like the 2 days from now. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check him out because that's something I was thinking about doing when it comes to like a podcast, because I think almost everyone has the same damn issue, just in different capacities. So it'd be cool to kind of cover that with big influential people, and then they can share how they work through it and stuff with their audience through my podcast. But honestly, I'm really trying to find my niche, because I my agency always struggles with me because like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know, like I love science. I was like, I literally tell them, and they get so frustrated, like, you have to pick something, and I'm like, I don't want to. I'm like, I want to do a variety of things. One day if I want to fill up my pool with gelatin, that would be funny, but then also the next day if I want to like go travel to like Texas and explore NASA, that'd be another thing. Like, I'm like, it's really difficult. So they struggle with me when we sit down for like writing rooms, and they're like, you need to come up with your niche. And so I struggle a lot with that. But I think right now the podcast would be cool because it's just like a form of Twitch streaming where I can talk about a bunch of different things, and then I'm not stuck to one topic. Yeah. So that's why like for you too, it's like awesome, because you literally are never like, you never have to title the video and then you're forced into that for the whole video.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have that ability to be like, oh, you know what? I'm changing it. Now we're changing games. Now we're changing topics. And so I think that's really, really cool. So yeah, so that's something that I struggle with when it comes to other social medias, because once you post something, and you can't jump around. It doesn't, and it doesn't do well. You can't be like, hey, tomorrow science, tomorrow I'm doing this. So I struggle. But I really appreciate it. I got to head out. I got so much to do right now for work, but I really, really appreciate it. Honestly, like, I'd love to come on your stream another time too. Once TikTok one day develops dual streaming, you should download TikTok, and we can do that too. I can get you started if you're ever interested, but probably a different world. But you can. I always like throw it up too. Like right now, it just sits on my desk while I talk on Twitch, and it just works both ways.
Okay, cool. But, like, hey, listen, I really appreciate the conversation. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you to like all the followers that you guys have. You guys were all so nice and like reading in the comments. So I really appreciate all of you guys. And then for all my TikTok fans right there, if you guys want to go to Destiny on Twitch, you guys got to check him out. He's playing Minecraft right now. Be sure to check that out, guys. And thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye. It was 2 months ago? Yeah, you linked the image too. People say that it was 2 months ago. The only thing I ever saw posted in that huge image link that was 2 months ago was her saying...